Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful, what are we up to? Wednesday. Okay, President's Week. Wednesday morning, as we are starting together Parashat Mishpatim. And yesterday, we spoke about this beautiful idea of Ve'ele HaMishpatim, that when it comes to the laws of the Torah, there are the laws that are man to God, and there are the laws that are man to man. And we often think that when it comes man to man, that those mitzvot are what we call sichliyot. They're rational, they're easy to understand, and they make sense. But we saw yesterday's class, we introduced this idea that even in the areas of man to man, even ben adam Lechavero, there are still many things. Okay. Baruch haba. Baruch haba. And refuah shlema for Sarah bat Silvia. Hazak Baruch. Bienvenidos. There are many things that we do that sometimes are man to man, but they're extra. They're what we call above the letter of the law. They're more than fair. You'll find mitzvot in the Torah that require us to do things that are hasidut, that are piety, that are extra, that are lifnim meshurat hadin, that they're more than what we really require to do based on just pure intellect. Like the examples we gave yesterday, it says in the Torah that if a person purchases a slave, you have to feed that slave the same level of food that you eat yourself. That's not necessarily required. No one will call you a bad guy if you fed your workers less than you. After all, you're the CEO, you're the boss, you're the owner. It would make more sense that you could deserve to sit in the better chair, in the big boss chair. You deserve to eat better foods. And yet, the Torah says that you have to treat them equally. And so, I want to talk today about this idea that of hasidut, of humrot, because we often think of hasidut, we often think of humrot, right? I want to ask you, give me a humrah. Right? I want you to pause the video right now. I want you to think of a khumrah. Okay? Think of an area that you could be strict on. Right? Mahmir. To be a chassid. Higher than tzaddik. Higher than regular. Higher than what's required. Tzaddik, by the way, you should know, is tzedek. Is fair. Tzedek, justice. Hasid is higher than that. So think of a mitzvah that's a hasidut, right? Of a humrah. Often, when people think of humrot, they think of mitzvot that are, on Shabbat, I'm going to start 20 minutes early instead of 18 minutes early. Or I'm going to wait, 6 hours, 7 hours instead of 6 hours. Or maybe I'm going to start keeping better laws of dietary, Pat Yisrael, Kemach Yashan. And those are true, those are humrot. But we have to realize is that hasidut and piety and living a higher life, an extra life, more than the minimum, is actually both in areas of man to God and areas of man to man. Ramchal, in his Sefer, Mesilat Yesharim, when he talks about Hasidut, he mentions that a person has to be mahmir, not only ben adam l'makom, but he says a person has to be mahmir ben adam Lechavero. Just like we're careful on tzeniut, on how we dress, every tiny extra inch. And just like we're mahmir when it comes to not, God forbid, we don't want to cut corners when it comes to touching or looking or what we talk or where we go or how we act, right? Mahmir. Think of the humrot. Baruch Hashem, we're all mahmir in different areas. But Ramchal says, guys got to also be mahmir ben adam Lechavero. You also have to be extra pious man to man. And that means Godel hahataba sheyeh adam le'olam metiv laberiyot velo mira' lehem. That a person should always be concerned about doing good to people and not doing bad to people. That's what a person's focused on. That I shouldn't come to hurt anyone, has v'shalom. That I shouldn't offend anyone. That I shouldn't step on anyone. That is what a Hasid is thinking. It's true, I also want to be Mahmir with God. I want to be a tzaddik, ben adam makom. But a person understands that real Hasidut is in both dimensions. Of course, we know that God gave the Torah on 2 tablets. He didn't give it on 1 tablet. Could have given 1 that had 10. But he gave 2 that had 5 each. Because the 5 are divided, man to God and man to man. And they're both equal. And they're both equal in size. And we sometimes forget that. We forget that. If you look at the length of the first 5 commandments, they're very, very long in the psukim. It would take a lot of tablet to fit all those words. The last 5, they're very short. They're very short. Look in the pasuk. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery. Like literally 2 words each. Altogether it's like 20, 30, 40 words. The first half, the first 5 is like hundreds of words. Much more. And yet, the Torah says they were equal in size. The first 5 and the last 5, the 2 tablets were the same size. That wasn't because of aesthetics. It looked better. Moshe could have fit the last 5 on a much smaller tablet. But God wanted him to give it on the same size tablet as the first 5. Because he wanted Moshe to know, to teach the Jewish people that we should know that we should never undervalue the latter 5. Ben adam lechavero. Ben adam lechavero means man to man. Sometimes our growth with Hashem, unfortunately, we think means coming at the expense of other people. Having to put down other people, or having to sacrifice my relationship with people. That's what sometimes we think mistakenly. But of course, growing as a Jew means growing vertically and growing horizontally. There's no such thing as I become more religious by stepping on people, by avoiding people, by hurting people. Because that's not really called more religious. That's not really called growing. And a person has to know that. That if I'm growing in Hasidut, I have to grow also man to man. That's also religious. That's also me being more religious. Religious is not only between what's me and Hashem. Religious is how I treat the guy that's next to me. If a person is going to honk and double park or block somebody in because they have to go hear a class, they've literally missed the whole point. I have to go pray. And so they hurt and they cut and you're missing the whole point. Growing with God is not meant to be at the expense of growing with people. And it's hard because sometimes we're growing and the people around us are not. And we try to find this balance of how do I grow while still, on the one hand, not hurting the people around me. On the other hand, sometimes those people around me are pulling me down, but I can't cut them out of my life. But you don't want me to hurt them, and now, right? It's very hard. It requires really a lot of wisdom and guidance and proper da'at Torah. You need real rabbis guiding you. When we grow, we have to have proper guidance. Just like a doctor. You don't, God forbid, just go and take medicine. You have to have a doctor prescribe. These are the nuances. These are difficult questions. I'm not saying no. But a person's got to understand that when I grow, I have to also grow with the people in my life. I can't step on them to lift myself up. That's not called growing. That's not called growing. So, look what he says over here. That a person's got to grow in hasidut between man and God, and also man and man. And this applies in 3 areas of man to man. Baguf, b'mamon, u'banefesh. This is in the body, in money, and in soul. Baguf, שיהיה משתדל לעזור כל אדם במה שיוכל ויקל מסעה מעליהם. That means that a person is trying to help people around him in whatever way possible. ויקל מסעה מעליהם. To literally lighten their load. That means that I'm helping with my body. Baguf. That's something that's today a little bit hard to find. Today we often think of hesed as just money. Especially today with credit card and electronic and payments and the virtual and the world that we live in, technology. It became very easy to have auto pay and things just running automatically. And I help with my money, but I don't really help with so often with my body. Baguf, shiye noseh be'ol havero, that I'm literally helping lift the burden with my friend. Lift the burden of another Jew. Go and make someone happy with your body. Dance for the Chatan and the Kala. Again, a lot of people will happy to go to the wedding, eat, and give a check. But that's not begufo. Begufo is with your body. You got to dance for them. You got to sweat for them. Somebody is sick. I'll Uber eat them soup. Baguf. But there's a mitzvah of helping with your body. Delivering with the body, the soup. Dropping it off. Refuah shlema. Baguf is something that we have to start practicing more. That's why the Hafetz Haim was very against helping with agencies. They had back then people they wanted to give the tzedakah to the what's it called, to the agency, to the kuppah over there, and then the agency distributes it. Hafetz Haim said, no way. You're losing out. When you give it through the agency, you don't get to see the poor person. It's not the same when you give it yourself or through an agency. You got to give it yourself. It's more personal. And if you're really tzaddik, you give 1, and then you give 2, and then you give 3. Right? You got to give 3. You got to give more. You got to give with your body. You got to smile. You got to encourage them. How you doing? What are you here for? Oh, yeah. How much do you need? How can I help you? The goof. Sometimes we got to turn on the body, my friends. And this is called noseh be'ol havero. Literally lifting my friend's burden with him. Someone sitting shiv'ah, to go and just sit with them. Just to sit with my body. And it's very hard to help with my body. I'm telling you, I know. You're going out of shul and someone wants to collect and we don't have time. We got to get to work. We got to have things to do. We have important card games to play. I don't have to here, take. We pull out, open the purse, is $100, leave me alone, I got to go. Baguf, time. Giving people time is also obligated. It's also a mitzvah. It's not always easy. But it's something that we have to start practicing. We have to start learning how to do it. How to giving the guf. Noseh be'ol havero. The reason Hashem picked Moshe to be the leader, the Midrash says, was because one time the sheep was running away. And Moshe Rabbeinu chased after the sheep. Where you going? Gets it up to the sheep, and he sees the sheep bend down to drink from a little brook. And Moshe Rabbeinu realizes, oh my God, you were thirsty. You were thirsty. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I didn't give you to drink before with all the other sheep. And now I made you run. You know what Moshe said to the sheep? I'm sorry, you know what? Let me make it up to you. Let me carry you back to the herd, to the flock. That's what Moshe did. Today you saw a guy do that, you call him Mejnun. Crazy. Moshe was on a level that he was sensitive to animals. Beguf. Moshe was a holy man, by the way. You shouldn't think he was a shepherd. Moshe, we have no idea these concepts. If God's coming to Moshe, you know who Moshe was? You know, we're talking about 80 years of meditation, of refinement, of holiness to the nth degree to make yourself worthy that God should come talk to you. That's who Moshe was. He wasn't a guy. Moshe was the holiest guy. Holiest. He was higher than an angel. And he is literally picking up a sheep with his body. This is beguf. So we have to start asking ourselves, how can we do more chesed with our guf? What can I be more involved with my body? My body, how can I be more engaged? I want to do more. And there's ways to help. There's organizations. There's things to do. But if I see that my friend, God forbid, is going to be hurt in any way, and I could help. I see somebody is in the airport and they look worried, they look confused. How could I help? How could I help? You need luggages? You need space in your luggage? I have. Come. Get off the line, come to the side, open your luggage, give me some stuff, put it in your... I mean, that's crazy. But this is what a person who is a Hasid practicing. The same way, you go out of your way and you read extra Tehillim, and the same way you go out of your way and we do extra mitzvot. This is extra. We got to be extra. We can't be regular. We can't be minimum Jews. Person's got to be extra. B'mamon. Next, with my money. ליסייעו באשר תשיג ידו ולמנוע ממנו הנזקים מחומה שיוכל. That I should be careful about other people's, not only helping them and their body, if they're physically, but helping them financially. That I should make sure not to damage someone financially. וכל שכן, and obviously, שירחיקו מכל מיני מזיקים שיכולים לבוא מחמתו. Obviously, I'm very cautious that I'm not hurting the guy myself physically, financially. God forbid you hit someone's car, they don't see, you drive off. No way. Ben beyahid, ben lerabim. I don't want to cause financial loss to someone. I don't want to cause financial loss. For sure not. The Hafetz Haim, before he would sell a book, he would look through every page to make sure that there were no mistakes in the editing and the printing. He looked through every page of his book. If I'm selling somebody something, I got to make sure getting what they paid for. Now, Hafetz Haim was a very busy man. He was a very important man. His time was valuable. But he went through every page. Because I could have been learning in that time, but this is no less religious. This is no less important. Making sure if I borrowed money from a friend I pay them back. I don't just forget about it. Yeah, it's fine. She's rich. She has the money. I don't need it. She doesn't need it. I owe it to you. Here you go. You go out of your way, find them, help them, give it back to them. You borrowed a dress. You borrowed something from somebody. It's your responsibility to get it back to them. How silly if a person's going to be mahmir this way, but then they're failing this way. Person has to understand that they work hand in hand. B'mamon, or Yisrael Salanta, minha time, they used to have minha, middle of the day, minha gedolah it's called. And they had guys coming to pray in the office. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, when he prayed minha, he prayed a very fast minha. Very fast. They were surprised. They asked him, why do you pray so fast minha? Take your time, Rabbi. It's very important. Minha is the most important prayer of the day, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. You know what he said? He said, it's a very important prayer. But you have all these guys coming to pray from their office, middle of the day. The longer I pray, the more customers they lose out on. How can I pray and grow if it's going to come at their expense? Better for me to rush my Amidah. Wow. This is greatness, my friends. To make sure I don't hurt people financially. Ben le yahid, ben le rabim. Individuals or the public. Even if immediately there's no damage. If it can lead to damage, I'll do whatever I can to make sure distant damage. Let your friend's money be as dear to you as your own. If it was your money, try to save. Try to make sure to get the best deal. Now it's your friend's credit card. Don't just swipe. Now it's them. Don't just... Be just as frugal. Just as careful with your friend's money as your own. That's a hasid. And finally, banefesh. שישתדל לעשות לחברו כל קורת רוח שיש בידו. Person should try to do whatever they can to bring their friend happiness, peace of mind, serenity. Bein be'inyane kavod, whether it's honoring them. Ben bechol she'ara inyanim, or any other area. Amazing. Look at Lechavero here. He divides all of mental health into two categories. Honoring and everything else. You got to give your friend honor. You got to give your friend praise. You got to make them feel good. You got to reassure them. Honor. Everything else. He doesn't say in all areas. He singles out kavod. That's how important kavod is. Ego. And the crazy thing about kavod is that it's something that we train ourselves to run away from. To not pursue kavod. Be humble, be humble, be humble. And that's the trippy part. That there is a double standard. That when it comes to honor, it's something that I should give you, even though I myself should try to not give it to myself and run away from it. That's the double standard. Yes, for myself, don't pursue it. If you do something great, don't look for praise, don't look for validation. It's high level, it's hard. We all need to be validated. Don't expect pats on the backs, good jobs. Don't look for praise. Kavod, don't look for it. Yourself, not for you. The person right next to you, give them the most. Your husband, give them the most. Your wife, give them the most. Yeah? Not the opposite, where your spouse does something good and they come and they tell you, I was there today, I helped the old man in the street. Not supposed to say, the rabbi spoke today about being humble. You shouldn't look for validation. Don't hold up a mirror when it comes to kavod. Hold up a mirror to yourself. But for the other person, we're supposed to give them the most. Wow, that's beautiful. Hazaku Baruch. One of the most important feelings in life that everyone needs is reassurance. Hizuk. Compliments. Encourage. I know this will make him smile. I know it'll make them feel good. Give a person a nice word. Yaakov Avinu tells us, Ulben Shinai mehalav. When he's blessing his son Yehuda, he says, Leben Shinayim, white teeth is better than halav, milk. Milk is a nice thing to give. Give someone milk. Especially back then, milk was a hard thing to get. To go out to the field, to the farm, to get the cow, milk the cow, come and bring it back, cool it off. As hard as it is to get milk, says Yaakov, giving someone a smile, white teeth, is better. As far as milk goes, a little compliment carries a person for sometimes weeks. Eliyahu Navi, one time he was in the marketplace and he saw these two, there was a rabbi in the marketplace. He saw Eliyahu Navi and he said to Eliyahu Navi, tell me, who here is from Olam Haba? The rabbi, Eliyahu Navi said to the rabbi, those two guys over there. So the rabbi went to those two guys and he said, tell me, what do you guys do for a living? And they said, we are comedians. Now, I'm not talking about today's comedians, that they're roasting and those guys, I don't know where they're going. I'm talking about comedians, they make people laugh. They like to make people happy. That is, my friends, what it means to be Olam Haba. Eliyahu Navi says to the rabbi, you want to know who's Olam Haba? Make other people happy. Nefesh. We're often thinking about my own happiness. How do I make myself happy? But to start thinking about other people's happiness. To start helping others. A Hasid is thinking, the same way I want people to honor and compliment me. Let me ask you, how many people did you compliment today? Whatever time you're listening to this class. How many people did you compliment today? How many people did we give sincere praise to? Good job. Nice. I watch you pray beautifully. I just want you to know. I pray better because of you. Thank you. You tell that to somebody, you could change their month. By the way, hello? You're hosting these classes. Beautiful. Thank you. I see you show up every week. You never miss. Great job. You know what you could do with something like that? We got to start training ourselves, my friends. Benafsho. Nefesh. The soul. Helping with the nefesh. This is how one practices Hasidut. And so, Ve'ele Mishpatim, the Torah's laws, we have to remember that the mitzvot in the Torah are the minimum. All the laws that we read this week's Parashat Mishpatim, of man to man, this is the minimum Jew. That's the minimum. Don't kill, don't steal, don't Don't charge interest. These are the minimum. We have to remember always there's so much more. And just like we want to be more man to God, we also must start practicing more man to man, Be'ezrat Hashem, and we will truly be on our way to Hasidut. Okay, we'll stop over here, everyone. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.